Picture this. You're exhausted, drained, running on empty. You've said yes to everyone but yourself. Your phone buzzes with another demand, another request, another person needing something from you. And you feel it, that crushing weight in your chest, that voice screaming inside. When is it my turn? What if I told you that the key to finding peace isn't doing more, giving more, or being more? What if the answer is actually drawing a line in the sand and saying, this is where I end, and you begin? Today, we're diving deep into one of the most powerful books on personal transformation. Netter Glover Tawwab's Set Boundaries, Find Peace. This isn't just another self-help summary. This is your roadmap to reclaiming your life, your energy, and your sense of self. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn will change everything. Welcome to Legacy Book Insight, where we transform life-changing books into actionable wisdom you can use today. Boundaries. That word gets thrown around everywhere, but what does it actually mean? And why do so many of us struggle to set them? Here's the truth that Netter Glover Tawwab wants you to understand. Boundaries aren't walls. They're not about shutting people out or being selfish. Boundaries are the invisible lines that define where you end and another person begins. They're the guidelines for how you want to be treated, what you will and won't accept, and how you protect your energy, time, and emotional well-being. Without boundaries, you become everyone's priority except your own. You become the person who always says yes, who always accommodates, who always sacrifices. And slowly, quietly, you lose yourself in the process. But here's where it gets interesting. Most of us were never taught how to set boundaries. We grew up in families where saying no was disrespectful, where our needs came last, where keeping the peace meant swallowing our discomfort. We learned that love means sacrifice, that caring means availability, that being good means being convenient for others. And now, as adults, we're paying the price. We're burnt out, resentful, anxious, and disconnected from ourselves. This book is about breaking that cycle. It's about learning that setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's survival. It's self-respect. It's the foundation of genuine, healthy relationships. And most importantly, it's the pathway to peace. The boundary crisis. Let me tell you a story. Sarah is a successful marketing manager, loving mother, devoted daughter, and reliable friend. On paper, her life looks perfect, but inside, she's drowning. Sarah wakes up at 5:30 every morning, not because she wants to, but because it's the only quiet moment before everyone needs something from her. Her mother calls daily with problems Sarah needs to solve. Her boss texts at 9 p.m. expecting immediate responses. Her friends guilt trip her when she can't make every gathering. Her children assume she'll handle everything because she always has. Sarah can't remember the last time she did something just for herself. She can't remember the last time she said no without feeling crushing guilt. She's exhausted, irritable, and starting to resent the very people she loves most. Sound familiar? Sarah's problem isn't that she cares too much. It's that she never learned to set boundaries. And this is the epidemic of our time. Tawwab identifies 6 major types of boundaries that most people struggle with. Physical boundaries, which govern your personal space and physical touch. Emotional boundaries, which protect your feelings and emotional energy. Time boundaries, which determine how you spend your precious hours. Intellectual boundaries, which respect your thoughts and ideas. Material boundaries, which concern your possessions and finances. And sexual boundaries, which involve intimacy and consent. Most of us violate our own boundaries daily without even realizing it. We let people hug us when we don't want to be touched. We listen to someone's problems for hours when we're emotionally depleted. We lend money we can't afford to lose. We work through lunch, through weekends, through our own exhaustion. Why? Because somewhere along the way, we internalized a dangerous belief. that our worth is measured by our usefulness to others. But here's what Tawwab wants you to understand. Every time you violate your own boundaries, you send yourself a message. You tell yourself, my needs don't matter. My comfort doesn't matter. I don't matter. And that's not just exhausting. It's devastating. The root of boundary issues. To understand why boundaries are so hard, we need to look at where we learned about them, or more accurately, where we didn't learn about them. Your family of origin is your first classroom for relationships. It's where you learned what love looks like, what respect means, what you can expect from others, and what others can expect from you. If you grew up in a home where boundaries were respected, where no meant no, where your privacy was honored, where you could express your feelings without punishment, you probably have a healthier relationship with boundaries as an adult. But many of us didn't have that experience. Some of us grew up in enmeshed families where everyone was in everyone's business, where your mother read your diary, where family members walked in without knocking, where your feelings were dismissed or mocked, where you were expected to share everything, including your deepest thoughts and your last dollar. Others grew up in rigid families with harsh, inflexible rules, where love was conditional, where perfection was expected, where mistakes were punished severely, where emotional expression was forbidden. Still others experienced neglect, where there were no boundaries at all because there was no real connection, where you raised yourself, where your needs were ignored, where you learned early that you couldn't depend on anyone. These early experiences shape your boundary blueprint. They determine whether you see boundaries as possible, whether you believe you deserve to have your limits respected, whether you even know what your limits are. Tawwab explains that people who struggle with boundaries often fall into one of several categories. There are the people pleasers who will destroy themselves to make others happy, the accommodators who constantly adjust their needs to fit everyone else's schedule, the conflict avoiders who would rather suffer in silence than risk upsetting anyone, the overgivers who define their worth by how much they sacrifice, and the guilt-ridden who feel selfish for having any needs at all. But here's the liberating truth. None of this is your fault. You were doing the best you could with what you learned. But now, as an adult, you have a choice. You can continue operating from that old blueprint, or you can create a new one. You can learn to set boundaries, and in doing so, you can find peace. The cost of poor boundaries. Let's talk about what happens when you don't set boundaries, because the consequences are real, painful, and far-reaching. First, there's resentment. When you constantly say yes when you mean no, when you give more than you have to give, when you accommodate everyone but yourself, resentment builds. It starts as a small irritation, then grows into bitterness, and eventually becomes a wall between you and the people you love. The tragedy is that these people often have no idea they're crossing your boundaries because you never told them. You're angry at them for not reading your mind, for not noticing your discomfort, for not somehow knowing what you never communicated. Second, there's depletion. Emotional, physical, mental exhaustion. You're running on empty because you keep pouring from a cup that's already dry. You have nothing left for yourself, and, ironically, you eventually have nothing left for others either. You become irritable, short-tempered, prone to mistakes and forgetfulness. Third, there's lost identity. When you spend all your time meeting other people's needs, you forget who you are. You lose touch with your own desires, your own dreams, your own preferences. Ask yourself, what do I actually want? What do I actually like? And if you struggle to answer, that's a sign your boundaries have been so poor for so long that you've lost yourself. Fourth, there's damaged relationships. Ironically, the very relationships you're trying to protect by not setting boundaries are the ones that suffer most. Without boundaries, relationships lack authenticity, mutual respect, and genuine intimacy. They become transactional, one-sided, or codependent. And finally, there's the impact on your physical health. Chronic stress from poor boundaries manifests as headaches, digestive issues, insomnia, weakened immunity, and more serious conditions over time. Your body keeps the score of every boundary you violate. Think about Sarah again. Her marriage is strained because she's so exhausted and resentful that she snaps at her husband over small things. Her children are learning that it's okay to disrespect people's time and energy. Her work quality is suffering because she's spread too thin. Her body is breaking down from stress. And worst of all, she feels trapped because she doesn't know how to change the pattern she's created. This is the cost of not setting boundaries. And it's too high. The boundary solution. So how do you actually set boundaries? Tawwab provide the practical framework that transforms this abstract concept into concrete action. First, you need clarity. You can't set a boundary if you don't know what your boundary is. This requires honest self-reflection. What makes you uncomfortable? What drains your energy? What do you resent doing? What do you wish you could say no to? Start by identifying your feelings. When do you feel angry, resentful, taken advantage of, exhausted, or uncomfortable? These emotions are signals that a boundary has been crossed or needs to be established. Then, identify your limits. What's okay with you and what's not? Maybe it's okay for friends to drop by occasionally, but not unannounced on weekday evenings. Maybe it's okay to help your sister with her kids sometimes, but not every weekend. Maybe it's okay to respond to work emails in the evening, but not after 9 p.m. Your boundaries are personal. They don't have to match anyone else's. What matters is that they're true for you. Second, you need to communicate clearly. This is where most people stumble. They hint, they imply, they hope people will somehow figure it out. But boundaries require direct, clear communication. Tawwab provide the simple formula: I need X. Can you do Y? Or, I'm not able to do X. I can do Y instead. Or simply, no, that doesn't work for me. Notice what's missing from these statements: lengthy explanations, apologies, justifications. You don't need to convince anyone that your boundary is valid. You're not asking permission. You're stating a fact about your limits. Let's look at examples. Instead of, I'm so sorry, I know I always help with this and I feel terrible, but I have this thing and I'm not sure I can, but maybe if I rearrange everything. Try, I'm not available this weekend, but I can help you on Tuesday. Instead of hinting that you're tired and hoping your guest will leave, try, I need to wrap up for the evening. It's been great seeing you. Instead of answering every text immediately and building resentment, try, I check messages once in the evening. I'll get back to you then. Clear, direct, kind, not apologetic. Third, you need consistency. Setting a boundary once is not enough. Boundaries require maintenance and reinforcement. People will test them, sometimes consciously, often unconsciously. They'll push back, especially if they benefited from your lack of boundaries before. This is where many people give up. The first time someone reacts negatively to a boundary, they apologize and retreat. But Tawwab emphasizes that discomfort is part of the process. People who are used to getting their way with you will resist your boundaries. That doesn't mean your boundaries are wrong. It means they're working. Your job is not to manage other people's reactions to your boundaries. Your job is to maintain your boundaries despite those reactions. When someone pushes back, you calmly restate your boundary. I understand you're disappointed, but I'm not available that day. When someone tries to guilt you, you don't engage with the guilt. I hear that you're upset. My answer is still no. When someone accuses you of being selfish, you recognize that this is their attempt to manipulate you back into compliance. Fourth, you need to handle the guilt. This is perhaps the hardest part. When you start setting boundaries, you'll feel guilty. You've been conditioned to feel guilty. You've learned that saying no is selfish, that protecting your energy is mean, that prioritizing yourself is wrong. But Tawwab wants you to understand something crucial. Guilt is not a reliable moral compass when it comes to boundaries. Guilt is often just the discomfort of doing something different, of breaking old patterns, of prioritizing yourself for the first time. The question is not, do I feel guilty? The question is this boundary necessary for my well-being? If the answer is yes, you set the boundary despite the guilt. And over time, as you see the positive results of boundaries, the guilt diminishes. Boundaries in different relationships. Boundaries look different in different relationships, and that's exactly as it should be. Tawwab breaks down how to approach boundaries with various people in your life. With romantic partners, boundaries create safety and respect. You're not meant to merge into one person. You're two separate individuals choosing to build a life together. Healthy boundaries in romantic relationships include maintaining your individual interests and friendships, respecting each other's need for alone time, communicating directly about needs and preferences, honoring each other's emotional limits, and maintaining financial clarity. The myth is that love means complete accessibility, constant togetherness, and knowing what the other person needs without them saying it. The reality is that the healthiest relationships have clear boundaries that both partners respect. With family, boundaries can be especially challenging because family relationships come with deep-rooted patterns and expectations. Your mother might believe she has the right to know everything about your life because she's your mother. Your siblings might assume you'll always be available because you're family. But being related doesn't give anyone unlimited access to you. You can love your family and still have boundaries. You can honor your parents and still say no. You can be a good sibling and still protect your time and energy. Common family boundaries include how often you visit or host, what topics are off limits for discussion, how involved family members are in your parenting or relationship decisions, how you handle family drama or conflict, whether you lend money or provide financial support. With friends, boundaries maintain the health and longevity of friendships. True friends will respect your boundaries. Friends who react badly to reasonable boundaries might be showing you that the friendship was more one-sided than you realized. Friendship boundaries might include how often you're available to hang out, how you handle friends who consistently cancel or are late, what kind of emotional support you can provide and when, whether you mix friend groups, how you navigate friends who want to vent constantly. At work, boundaries protect your time, energy, and career satisfaction. Work boundaries include when you're available for work communications, what tasks are within your job description, and what constitutes scope creep, how you handle unreasonable deadlines or expectations, whether you work overtime and under what circumstances, how you separate work life from personal life, and crucially, boundaries with yourself. Self-boundaries are about keeping promises to yourself, honoring your own needs, and maintaining the behaviors that support your well-being. This includes keeping commitments you make to yourself, setting limits on your own behavior like screen time, spending, or drinking, protecting your own energy even when no one else is asking anything of you, following through on self-care practices, the pushback and how to handle it. Here's what Tawwab wants you to be prepared for. When you start setting boundaries, people will react, and not always positively. You'll hear things like, "You've changed." Yes, you have. You've started valuing yourself. You're being selfish. No, you're being self-respecting. There's a difference. You never used to be like this. Right, because you used to let people take advantage of you. I can't believe you won't help me. Translation: I can't believe you won't prioritize my needs over your own anymore. These reactions are not evidence that your boundaries are wrong. They're evidence that your boundaries are affecting people who benefited from you not having any. The people who truly care about you will adjust. They might be surprised at first. They might be temporarily disappointed, but they'll respect your boundaries because they respect you. The people who don't respect your boundaries are showing you who they are. Believe them. Tawwab identifies common manipulation tactics people use to get you to drop your boundaries. There's guilt tripping. making you feel bad for having limits. There's gaslighting, making you question whether your boundary is reasonable. There's the silent treatment, withdrawing affection to punish you. There's the comparison. Everyone else does this for me. There's the guilt by history. After everything I've done for you. Your response to all of these is the same. Hold your boundary. You don't argue. You don't justify. You don't try to make them understand. You simply restate your boundary and end the conversation if necessary. I understand you're upset. My decision stands. I'm not discussing this further. I've made my position clear. And sometimes, the consequence of maintaining boundaries is that relationships change or end. This is painful, but it's also revealing. A relationship that cannot survive you having boundaries was not a healthy relationship to begin with. It was a dynamic where you were being used, even if unintentionally. Tawwab emphasizes that losing unhealthy relationships, while difficult, creates space for healthier ones. It also creates space for the most important relationship of all, the one with yourself. The transformation. So what happens when you commit to boundaries? What does life look like on the other side? Let's return to Sarah. After reading about boundaries and recognizing herself on every page, she decides to make changes. It starts small. She tells her mother she can talk on Sunday afternoons, but not every day. Her mother is hurt at first, but adjusts. She sets her work email to stop notifying her after 7 p.m. Her boss doesn't actually fire her, though she worried he would. She tells her friends she needs advance notice before getting together. The Real friends understand. She starts saying no to activities that drain her without explanation or apology. The first few weeks are uncomfortable. Sarah feels guilty. She worries people will think she's mean or unreliable. She second-guesses herself constantly. But then something shifts. She notices she has energy in the evenings. She reads a book she actually wanted to read. She has a real conversation with her husband because she's not exhausted and resentful. She exercises because she has time. She feels less anxious, less angry, more like herself. Her relationships don't fall apart. In fact, most of them improve. Her mother starts calling her sister more, developing that relationship. Her boss learns to plan better. Her friends make more effort to coordinate. Her children start learning to solve their own problems. And most importantly, Sarah starts to like herself again. She's not the martyr, the victim, the person everyone takes advantage of. She's someone who knows her worth, protects her peace, and models self-respect for everyone around her. This is what boundaries offer. Not perfection, but peace. Not isolation, but genuine connection. Not selfishness, but self-preservation. Tawwab explains that when you set boundaries, you teach people how to treat you. You also teach yourself that your needs matter. You break generational patterns of poor boundaries. You model healthy relationships for your children. You create space for joy, rest, creativity, and growth. You reclaim yourself. Set boundaries, find peace is more than a book. It's a blueprint for a different kind of life. A life where you're not constantly depleted, resentful, and lost. A life where your relationships are built on mutual respect rather than one-sided sacrifice. A life where you have the energy to pursue what matters because you're not giving everything away to everyone else. The journey to healthy boundaries starts with a single decision. You matter. Your time matters. Your energy matters. Your peace matters. Not more than other people's, but also not less. It continues with awareness. Noticing when you feel resentful, uncomfortable, taken advantage of. Those feelings are data. They're telling you where you need boundaries. It progresses through communication. Clear, direct, kind statements about your limits. No apologies, no lengthy explanations, just honest expression of your needs. And it's maintained through consistency, holding your boundaries even when it's uncomfortable, even when people push back, even when you feel guilty. The beautiful truth that Tawwab offers is this: you don't have to sacrifice yourself to be loved. In fact, you can't build genuine love on the foundation of self-sacrifice. Healthy love requires two whole people with clear boundaries. You don't have to earn the right to have boundaries. You have that right simply because you're a human being with needs, limits, and value. And you don't have to do this perfectly. Boundaries are practice, not a destination. You'll make mistakes. You'll sometimes set boundaries too rigidly or fail to set them when you should. That's okay. Every time you honor yourself by setting a boundary, you're making progress. So here's your challenge. Today, right now, identify one boundary you need to set. Just one. Maybe it's with your mother, your boss, your friend, your partner, or yourself. Get clear on what you need, communicate it directly, and hold it consistently. Your future self, the one who's no longer exhausted and resentful, the one who's found peace, is thanking you already. Thank you for watching Legacy Book Insight. If this video resonated with you, hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Remember, setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's the most loving thing you can do for yourself and everyone in your life. Until next time, protect your peace and honor your worth. You deserve it. Thank you for watching.